There's a silence that arrives long before regret, a kind of stillness that doesn't come from peace, but from recognition. You wake up one morning, sunlight slipping through the blinds, the air heavy with routine. The same room, the same phone, the same scrolling motion you've done 1,000 times before. Nothing is wrong, but somehow everything feels unfinished. We like to imagine that wasting life looks dramatic failure, chaos, some catastrophic mistake. But most of the time, it's gentle, it's quiet. It hides inside ordinary days. It sounds like it'll start tomorrow, or I just need to get through this week. Well, time doesn't announce its theft. It just keeps moving one sunset, one distraction at a time. The truth is, most people don't waste their lives in rebellion. They waste them in obedience to comfort, to fear, to the illusion that there will always be more time. Beneath that noise, there's a hum of question that refuses to disappear. What have I actually done with my time? You sense it every time you look in the mirror and realize the person staring back has been waiting patiently, painfully for you to finally show up for your own life. We live in a world that mistakes movement for meaning, where the fastest life is considered the fullest one. Everywhere, people run toward promotions, toward screens, toward the next version of themselves that promises happiness. Society teaches us that to matter, we must always be seen. We document our meals, our milestones, our smiles, proof that we're doing something, anything. That looks like life. But beneath the curated joy, something fragile is breaking. The more we try to capture moment, the less we inhabit them. We call it ambition. We call it progress. But often, it's fear, the quiet terror of sitting still long enough to feel. There's a strange emptiness in modern abundance. We chase experiences the way children chase shadows, forgetting that chasing and living are not the same thing. We turned exhaustion into status, and peace into guilt. The ones who rush through life rarely taste it. It's possible to be completely busy and completely absent at the same time. We tell ourselves that we're too busy to feel lost, as if speed could protect us from meaning. The brain is wired to seek comfort in psychology. It's called temporal discounting, our tendency to value the present more than the future. We crave the small reward of now, and in doing so, we trade away the vastness of later. Every notification, every scroll, every unnecessary task is a quiet form of emotional shielding. We're not avoiding time, we're avoiding the feelings that time reveals. We fill our calendars because we can't bear the weight of our own reflection. You stop trying, not because you can't succeed, but because you've lost faith that effort matters. When your identity depends on motion, stillness feels like death. Our nervous system confuses stillness with danger. We drown the silence because it echoes the parts of us we abandoned. We spend so much energy avoiding our own consciousness that we never let it speak. You don't even realize what you've lost until one evening. You sit in a quiet room and feel something missing. The real cost of wasting life isn't failure, it's emotional erosion. We waste life trying not to feel its weight. There's a moment that arrives in almost every life, quiet, unannounced, when the noise fades and you realize you've been drifting. It doesn't look like crisis. It feels like a pause, a small, heavy silence that settles somewhere between your ribs. Maybe it happens in a hospital waiting room, under the cold hum of fluorescent light. Maybe in the middle of a familiar drive home, when the road feels endless and identical. Or maybe it comes on an ordinary afternoon, when you look up from your screen and suddenly feel years pressing against you. You think back to all the things you said, you'd do the book you'd write, the friend you'd call, the places you'd see someday. But someday became next week, then next month, then never. You start to wonder when you stopped feeling time move, when days became copies of each other, identical enough to forget. In this moment, the realization doesn't shout, it whispers. You've been here the whole time, but you haven't really been living. Regret isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's gentle, almost loving. It arrives like an old friend, placing its hand on your shoulder, saying, I was with you all along, waiting for you to notice me. And though it hurts, there's something sacred about that pain. Because for the first time in a long while, you're awake. You see the distance between who you are and who you meant to be. And in that distance lies both the ache and the invitation to begin again. Awareness doesn't always come gently. Sometimes it arrives like a sudden light after years in a dark room, blinding, disoriented, impossible to ignore. You can't look away because you finally see for the first time. The excuses sound hollow. The distractions lose their charm. The busyness that once made you feel important now feels heavy, like armor that no longer fits. And beneath all that weight, you feel something else, grief. Because awareness always carries loss. When you wake up, you realize how long you've been asleep. You see all the moments you missed because you were elsewhere physically present, emotionally absent. But grief is not punishment. It's proof that you still care. It's the soul's way of saying, you're not too late. You can't change the past, but you can change your presence within what's left. You start to move differently. You listen more. You speak slower. You feel time as something fragile, sacred, not an enemy. But a teacher, the weight doesn't disappear, but it changes form. It becomes responsibility, the gentle pressure to live deliberately. Every second counts, not because it's scarce, but because it's alive. One's awareness settled. It doesn't ask for grand gestures. It asks for small, quiet acts of alignment, the kind that make your outer life match your inner truth. You don't need to start over. You just need to start showing up. 1. Choose attention over activity. The world will tell you to fill your days. Wisdom will tell you to inhabit them. Life isn't something to manage, it's something to witness. 2. Measure success by depth, not distance. You've been trained to chase outcomes, but the soul measures differently. Do one thing slowly. Finish one conversation without looking away. 3. Practice the discipline of saying no. Every yes steals time from something sacred. Each no is a small act of freedom. 4. Guard the silence that heals you. You will be told to stay connected, to always respond, to never disappear. Ignore that. The heart needs silence to remember its rhythm. 5. Let go of the idea of perfect timing. Perfection is the thief of participation. Start now, imperfect, quietly, with what you have. 6. Turn awareness into gratitude. When you stop running, you start noticing the air tastes different. The light feels warmer. Every breath, every fleeting second is a small miracle of existence. Morning again, the same window, the same light. But this time, you're watching it differently. The world hasn't changed, only your presence within it. The coffee still cools. The clock still ticks. But now those small sounds feel like life whispering instead of time slipping away. You inhale, and for once, you're not thinking about what's next. You're simply here. The mind will try to pull you back to the lists, the deadlines, the noise. Let it. But remember, you don't have to follow. You've learned the difference between motion and meaning, between filling a day and truly feeling one. Wasting life was never about the hours you lost. It was about the moments you ignored. You don't need to fix the past. You only need to stop abandoning the present. That's the quiet grace of being awake, realizing that even now, with time already spent, there is still enough left to live. Outside, the world rushes on. Inside, you finally exhale. And in that breath that's still unremarkable breath, everything you once thought was gone returns. Life doesn't begin when you have more time. It begins when you notice the time you already have.